As President of the United States, would you use the words, march the Israelis to the door of the oven?
Yes, I would. We need to use strong words when people make strong threats against an entire group of people.
Mike Huckabee on NBC's Today Show this morning, standing by comments he made over the weekend on Sirius XM Radio's Patriot channel, telling Breitbart News on XM Patriot that the Iran nuclear deal will, quote, take the Israelis and march them to the door of the oven. Let's discuss it with our political panel. Skyping in from Massachusetts, a columnist for the Fiscal Times, Liz Peek. And likewise joining us from Skype, but from Washington, D.C., Ari Rabin-Havt, host of The Agenda on the aforementioned Sirius XM Radio, but on the Progress channel. And Ari, of course, former advisor to Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid. A big firestorm over this, Liz. Is the media being unfair to Mike Huckabee?
Look, I think Mike Huckabee is like Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and some others trying to get some attention, and he got a lot of attention. But also he is basically backing the American people who are opposed to this deal. A poll just out a few hours ago showed that 52% of the country wants Congress to approve this, 44% want Congress to approve this deal, and 52% are opposed to it. The polling is very clear. So Huckabee is doing something that's popular to American voters and also trying to get attention because don't forget, this all-important debate is coming up. Only the top 10 pollers will be in that debate. And what we've seen is that making noise and making a lot of very incendiary statements, as Cruz has done and also Donald Trump, really can move you up in the polls.
Let's turn to Ari on this. Your take on Huckabee and the firestorm in the wake of his comments.
Look, I agree with the Anti-Defamation League. I agree with the Israeli ambassador to Washington. Even those who are opposed to this deal, which I'm supportive of this deal, but even those opposed to this deal in the Jewish community see the offensive nature of Mike Huckabee's statement, see how in the Jewish community, as Geraldo Rivera expressed on Fox, he's a member of the Jewish community, it's a very personal thing to invoke the Holocaust. And when you do, you have to be really careful, as in politicians should probably never do it unless you're talking about the actual Holocaust or something like Armenian genocide, or, you can compare the Holocaust to Stalin. You should not compare a sitting U.S. president, and this goes across all parties. There's this tendency, there have been people of all parties who have violated this, but Mike Huckabee has done it on a few occasions, and it was wrong this time, and it's always wrong.
Well, we've got about 2.5 minutes left, and it's very interesting what has been going on with entertainers and the White House. Reports now out saying that Jon Stewart of The Daily Show on Comedy Central had a couple of private, hush-hush, Oval Office meetings with President Obama over the years. I'm curious, Liz, do you have a reaction for that? Is it appropriate for the president to bring in a comedian, kind of butter him up?
Well, I think that Obama has kind of lifted the veil on using popular entertainment as a way to get across his message. What I think is really most fascinating is that he has been brilliant in setting up these situations where he appears on late-night comedy shows or whatever. He's really kind of entered a lot of new territories in basically getting his message out. And yet, still, he is not very good at it. I mean, he has been stumping the country talking about the Iran deal and has really not moved the needle at all on whether voters like or dislike the Iran deal. And it reminds me of when he was out proselytizing for Obamacare. He must have made 100 speeches talking about the value and virtues of Obamacare, and again, the country really never came around. So I think he's been brilliant in terms of where to be appearing and how to kind of get people into his corner, but the truth is his policies stand on their own, and no amount of stroking, well-known comedians and entertainers really get him where he wants to go, I think.
Ari, let me turn to you. We understand that the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee did a thank you petition for Jon Stewart when he announced his retirement, and it was basically for all the help he gave to the left and to Democrats. But I guess we should note that Bill O'Reilly had a couple of hush-hush meetings with George W. Bush. So both sides trying to reach out to their friends in the media. 45 seconds.
Look, I think it makes sense. Like Bill O'Reilly's an incredibly influential voice, and of course, if I were a Republican president, I'd want to court him. Of course, a Democratic president would want to court Jon Stewart. It just makes sense. You got to go to the places to get your message out. The only thing I would disagree with Liz on is I think Barack Obama's been incredibly successful. He won twice. Majorities of the popular vote, which George Bush didn't do the first time and barely won the second time. So I think he's been incredibly effective at getting his message out.
Fair enough. Ari, Liz, we thank you for your time. Now, Newsmax wants to hear which candidate has your vote in the Republican primary. Donald Trump, Mike Huckabee, Scott Walker, or somebody else. Vote at newsmaxpolls.com. We're coming back.